Hi everybody, it's Emini Trading. Want to run through a weekly wrap on the indices. So what we got is continuous contract, floor session, and a daily chart. So last week we spoke a lot on how unfilled gaps are magnets. They are points of return, and you generally find a market will be attracted to them and will fill those unfilled gaps over time. And we also spoke the week before about how we were testing the 200-day moving average. We said this is a possible scenario like it happened here, and this is exactly what did happen again. Not identical but fairly close. We saw it hit the 200-day moving average and bounce. Okay, so what I'm looking at this week is the fact that we are a little bit extended. We probably have pushed ourselves last week, and we may see a little bit of consolidation this week, because if you have a look at the stochastics, it's telling you that it is extended, and you may see that cross, and you may see some retracement there. So on the downside, I would be looking for another unfilled gap like we talked a lot about last week. That's from 912 down to 901.50, which we saw when we gapped up this week that just passed, and that will be a very important area that I'll be looking at closely across all the indices should we see a retracement. Okay, so now we've got situation 952.75 potentially presents itself as being resistance, and if that was resistance, that would form a double top there. Okay, and now if I just pop some Fibonacci price extensions there, just so we can get an idea of where it can go, and I will move this down. Help a little bit like that. Okay, so now if we have a look here, just put those Fibonacci extensions in there. You can see selling starts, selling stops. Okay, so extensions would say, okay, 100% extension puts us at the double top. That's a 952 mark, and I can 952.50, and we would say that 123.6 extensions, 973.50s. The 138.2 is 986.38, and the 161, which is a possible extension in light of this current chart, once we see the indicators stop their overheating, would be around about that 1,000 level. Big number, but it's possible that we could see a rally to that in the coming weeks. But for my liking, what I'll be really looking at is to see if this double top plays out, and to see if we get a pullback and a possible filling of the unfilled gap of 912 back down to 901.50. Okay, so now if I just quickly pull up the weekly and monthly pivots on the ES, you can see there trading above the monthly pivot point here, and you can see to the upside that is in recent view, current view is resistance 1 on the weekly, 963.33, monthly resistance 951.25. This bodes with the 952.75 level that we said was possible double top zone. Okay, so now let's flick across to the Dow. Quickly run through that, otherwise I'll run out of time. Okay, so in the middle of filling this unfilled gap here, 8,656, which up to 8,738 approximately. So we're in the middle of that for the Dow. Downside, unfilled gap back at 8388 down to 8321. So watch for that on a retracement. Okay, so again I'm going to pop some Fibonacci's in here just so we can see the extension zones and to get a feel for it. Okay, so here we go. We have got extensions. This would put a double top in here on the Dow 8941, as would this 8831. Okay, this is a current double top, and then there's another top back there. So watch out for that. 9,000 looks to be a big level, I would suggest. You've got this top here, and you've also got the 123.6 extension. Okay. So now weekly, monthly pivots. Okay, so this again is where a possible double top could form around this level. We said 8941. Okay, we've got monthly R1 sitting there at 8762, and we're trading above the weekly and monthly pivot points, which are support. Okay, so that's the YM. Now let's flick across to the Nasdaq. We have got an unfilled gap on the downside, 1466.50 to 1447.48, thereabouts, 1447.50, sorry. That's on the downside. Okay, so all upside gaps so far have been filled, unfilled gaps have been filled. Okay, so let's just reduce that, zoom in a bit, see a bit more clarity. So again, we would take the Fibonacci tool, we would take it from the most recent high where the selling started down to the low, selling stopped, and we can see that there's some extensions there. 123.6 is 1540, the 138.20s is 1556.50s, and the 161.8 extension is 1564. Okay, on that most recent move. Okay, again, stochastics on all the indices are saying that we're overbought. So we could well see a retracement. So if we do see that retracement, again, across all indices, I will be looking at these unfilled gaps, which I've given you. So now let's flick up the Nasdaq weekly and monthly pivot points, and from there, that will conclude our session. You can see here, just grab my pen. Okay, you can see here weekly pivot point is 1485.50. Okay, we've got we're trading around the monthly R1. We've got weekly R1, which lines up pretty much with the monthly R2 around the 1571 level. So I guess there would suggest that there would be significant resistance there. Okay, so let me just fix this up here. You can see that the monthly pivot point is all the way back down at 1468.25. Okay, so all in all, most of the indicators would suggest that we're a little bit stretched. So on the downside, we would be looking at the unfilled gaps. Then on the upside, we would be looking at the most recent highs, which would give us a double top setup. Should that fail and those break, then we've got further upside targets based on the Fibonacci extensions. So guys, I hope that helps traders. Look forward to the next update and stick to your stops.